Hey, what's up, people? If you watched the video about 2 videos ago, or actually, I don't even know at this point because everything's just gone so completely out of order. But anyways, I talked about getting my family's Aptiva Stealth PC from the mid-90s up and running so that I could take it to display and have people play around with it at VCF SoCal 2025. And oh man, what a fun event that was. Unfortunately, my PC only made it until about halfway through the show on the second day of the event, after which it refused to power on for more than a few seconds during boot. But trying to figure out what's wrong with it is an investigation for another video. For now, let's just take a look at some of the awesome stuff that was on display at the show. I really wanted to walk around the entire show and get as much footage as I could of all the things present, but I was only able to sneak away from my station for short periods of time before I was getting called back by my family to answer attendees' questions, which was fine. Telling interested people the stories behind the equipment was like fun all on its own. My voice did get wrecked though. By midday Sunday, I sounded like I was going through my second round of puberty. First of all, a massive thanks to Mickey and Steve, the 2 showrunners who started this event so close to home back in 2024. And as far as some of the cool stuff present at the event, right next to the entrance and put on by the Vintnerd, co-showrunner Steve himself, an assortment of Qbert versions running on various computers and consoles. They had Atari 2600, Commodore 64, TI-99, Atari 800 XL, and a cute tiny arcade replica. I think the display in the middle is an emulated arcade version. Also at the table, an assortment of Qbert-themed Valentine's Day cards and some fun items for taking pictures with, such as Qbert characters and exclamations. The Vintnerd has a YouTube channel, unsurprisingly called The Vintnerd, where he posts videos of retro computer-related stuff, so be sure to check that out. Close enough. There was an exhibitor there whose stuff my son was really excited for me to take a look at, by the name of Sideburn Studios. They had several items that incorporated Nixie tubes, such as NixieBot, and an interactive die that you could shake, and it would randomize 2 digits, which would then get added together to show the final number. And also at this table was a modified portable Sony TV showing oscilloscope audio, and a tiny eye tube ran by a Raspberry Pi that displays, appropriately, an eye. This item was really neat, and I tried to show what the tube with its deflection coils and everything looked like, but unfortunately my phone decided that focusing on the reflection of the light fixtures on the ceiling was more interesting. I did get some clear shots of it though. There's more stuff you can check out on their Sideburn Studios YouTube channel. One of the most flashy, pun fully intended, displays of retro tech viewable right as you entered the floor was a setup by Craig. It's the Atari video music, the output of which was being pumped straight to a transmitter and then through the airwaves to several TVs. And not only was the setup flashy, but the tunes also fitting with the retro atmosphere of the place. At a table near my own, a couple of Pantheon Holdings Easy Link machines, one of which had been modified with a Raspberry Pi to run something called WindOS. The couple running the table explained the concept of it being that you could enter in anything you wanted and have that message go out into the ether. For example, it could be anything from a message reaching out to someone lost in the past, or something of a deep dark secret you just like to get off your mind. Nothing that you typed in would be saved or seen by anyone else. I mean, not unless they happen to be lurking behind your back and being nosy or something. They have a website you can check out at windterminal.com if you'd like to learn more about it. To the table next to that was Project Ivy, a collection of portable PCs of all forms and sizes. These are all machines that she's repaired or restored in one way or another. My favorite of them was the tiny IBM Palmtop PC 110. I mean, just look at how adorable that tiny thing is. Katarina has a website where you can see more pictures of some of these machines and some others that are not present at katarinamelke.net/ivy. Now, this table with the minis and other bits of hardware was put on by sponsor Levi Maya. Levi actually posted a video about VCF SoCal on his channel, which also got featured on Perifractic's Retro Recipes channel, and I happened to get featured in it. No big deal. Oh, look, my kid is cheating at Duck Hunt. This Micron RAM coffin really got my attention, as I just happen to have 8 of the exact same part number chips sitting on my bench, all dead. Levi's channel is Levi's Digital Voyage, and I'll leave links to his and everything else I talk about down in the deets section of this video. From AtariProjects.org, unsurprisingly, an Atari under examination, but also a few other things, such as an old Mac, I believe that is, and this super neat and flashy Amiga 500. The AtariProjects.org website has a lot of great tips and information on retro machines repair, and I'm actually going to be checking out the website in more detail when I get a chance, because I have an Atari 800 XL board that I've actually featured before in a previous video that I would like to get working again. I might find some helpful information on the Atari Projects website. From Craig Cole, Craig's long dormant collection, a couple of Macs, and a couple of Tandys, all appearing to be in really good condition. Now, unfortunately, I didn't realize until reviewing the footage that it was a separate collection from the adjacent table, and I just sort of panned across. We have a wild collection of eccentric machines by X-Plane? I think that's how you pronounce it? That he calls Retro Ryzen. You think this is a regular monitor you're looking at? Psych! It's an entire machine in a CRT monitor case. Basically, he builds machines that make absolutely no sense other than being just because we can PCs. The Computer Museum of America had a few things on display, including an actual Pong console. Unfortunately, I heard from someone else that visited my table that apparently it stopped working at some point. I remember I really wanted one of these Commodore color displays back in the 90s, but I never got my hands on one. They have images playing of what the museum used to look like in San Diego. Apparently they lost funding and had to shut down, but it sounds like at least some of it will be a part of a San Diego State University library sometime in the future. This big chunk is of a machine on display from Difficult Computing. A Silicon Graphics Onyx 2 was an absolute unit of a device. Apparently this was considered a desk-side workstation. They had an example sitting on the table of what one of the modules inside of it looks like. I don't remember how much RAM was actually on it, but for the amount of real estate it occupied on the board, it wasn't very much by today's standard. Huge back then though. It was running some sort of driving simulation. What's up with that cow? I wasn't able to get much more footage of this as I had to scurry off back to my table again. Also at the event, I got to meet 2 big names in the vintage computing scene. David Lovett from Usagi Electric, and none other than Jeri Ellsworth. David was there with a really vintage machine that he was picking up to take back to Texas that he will do a video series on in the future. The entire thing is 9 feet long and made up of several sections. The section I'm really interested in seeing is the RAM disk on the left of the unit. There are a ton of transistors on each board of this thing. The broken shards of glass and pistachio shells are just passive components. He already made an intro video about this machine on his channel that I will link down in the deets. Jeri had a collection of rare and funky machines that she's worked on in one form or another. Some with no usable components inside that she's modded with more modern hardware, and some that were in really bad shape that she's had to do a lot of work to. $12,000 when new. Still, cool to see all the unusual machines and neat stuff all around. As for the stuff that I brought to the show, there were a few items that I've previously featured in videos, such as the Tournament 1000, the Hand Key 2, and my IBM Aptiva. A few other things that I displayed at our table were a couple of arcade boards, and an Apple IIe that I plan to eventually make a video about. The Tournament 1000 was a big hit. A lot of people stopped by to play it, and I was actually really surprised by that. Thank you for taking a short trip with me through the venue. The event next year is supposed to be expanded, and so there will, no doubt, be way more stuff to look at. I'm looking forward to participating again, and hopefully I can get more footage then. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys around the bench.